I challenge anyone to find a great performance by any actor ever that doesn't start really with text and understanding the text of the thing they're doing. What are its intentions? What are its goals? What are the layers that are going to make this person up? Primal fear. I'm going to put a caveat on everything from here forward that my memory of some of these things is elusive. Your own relationship to the experience is different from people who enjoy the film because they may have a more present tense sense of it. I remember weird things. I remember having not had that much experience working in film, realizing that you could play a very intense scene when they're doing the coverage in the other direction and realize that you're out of gas. I remember in kind of one of the final courtroom scenes where feeling like I'd overdone it when it was like shooting Laura Linney or something and running to the craft service guy and going like, just get me some caffeine. And I figured I better jack myself back up on something. Yeah. Those are like the rookie mistakes you make.
No more no more games. Everybody thinks you did this, everybody. I'm the only one who believes you, and I am that close. So I want it all out, all of it, right now, right here.
Working with Richard Gere was like it was the luckiest first dance partner I could have had. He was like veteran part. It's like the movie Training Day. Like he was such a real comrade in saying this is great, but then in the subtlest of ways, just little pointers, little guidance, little support. He was, I can't say enough great about him. He was so kind to me on that. There was a lot of consternation in that film about whether he needed to end up winning, whether this was okay that the end of the film was this body blow, of getting sideswiped by this kid. He was the one who forcefully argued. He was like, what is better than me getting hammered? He goes, that's what makes this work. He didn't want to win. He didn't want to, he knew in a weird way that part of the pleasure of the end was the smug, polished guy getting sideswiped. Rounders. It was one of those things you look left and you look right, like, what was the last really good poker movie?
Yeah.
And
it's the poker movie.
Yeah, and there wasn't one then. And also sometimes you just get this thing of like, Matt's doing it? Well, that'll be fun. Yeah. He's great. What, Turturro's gonna do it? What, Malkovich is gonna do it? Like, come, Martin Landau's gonna do it? Oh my God, It's like we're hanging out on the corner on 8th Avenue and listening to Martin Landau tell stories. Like, that's like as good as it gets.
Hey, Worm, do they allow people like you in places like this?
You know what? Zagosh, when you get yourself a job, then you can be my f***ing PO. How about that?
Worm, I think, has lots of literary ancestors. Worm is like Johnny Boy in Mean Streets. Worm is like the friend that if you didn't have roots, you wouldn't be friends with him now. You know what I mean? It's like he's, in Shakespeare, he'd be Puck. He's mischief. He's trouble. American History X. The film was, like, even the poster was iconic. It was a Shakespearean type of a story by design. It was tragedy. That's how we talked about it. That's how, when David and I worked on the script for months, we were taking this incredible scenario and this idea to imagine him as a latter-day Venice Beach Macbeth, an Othello. Here's this person who, like a lot of those great classical tragic heroes, has enormous gifts. He's not some cracker. He's smart. He's forceful. He loves his family. He has qualities of leadership. He doesn't suffer fools. He's got we used to say he has the qualities of a general. You can see within him the things he could have been, but he's overtaken by rage. Our kind of, ambitious idea at the time was, if what those plays in the Greeks and Shakespeare were trying to do is say, hey, people can learn a lesson, literally a cathartic lesson, from the fall of Macbeth because of ambition, the Othello jealousy. Like, let's look at someone who ruins all of the potential in his life because of rage, like who lets rage destroy everything that could have been good in his life.
I don't think that the tape showed that at all.
Oh, you didn't think so, huh? And what, you're an authority, Ma?
Murray, what do you think?
Well, I did think that the police used their clubs rather excessively.
Who are you to say what's excessive? I think it was totally appropriate.
I loved working with Beverly D'Angelo and Elliot Gould. Those things at the dinner table were incredibly like visceral and verite and improvisational, and you have to create a special kind of a sense of alliance and trust. Like, everybody knows we're telling this story for a reason. We have an objective with this. We have a message with this that's, we hope, a humanist one. Like, I think because you're going to go to some places and you don't want to be self-conscious about it. So for me, being the one who was having to obviously almost improvisationally rip at with these horrible, rage-filled tirades at people, when you have actors and when you feel a sense of a safety zone, a safe zone in which to explore all that, it's important.
This isn't our neighborhood, it's a battlefield. We're on a battlefield tonight. Make a decision. Are we gonna stand on the sidelines, quietly standing there while our country gets raped?
The guts of the whole thing were David McKenna's great writing. Nobody swans in and starts making up a character from some intuitive level. You have to, there's a text, there's a script, there's a director there's an idea, there's a whole set of ideas, and you have to engage from the point of view of what is this piece? What is it saying? What is it doing? What's the tonality of it? Is it highly stylized? Is it supernaturalistic? What are the layers that are going to make this person up? And sometimes, honestly, wardrobe can become the right set of boots will find you a character's physicality faster than any sense memory exercise. You know what I mean? It's very there's many triggers to the process of finding what becomes, quote unquote character, I think. Fight Club. Fincher one time said that it was a film about a serious subject made by deeply unserious people, which is sort of true. I mean, honestly, it was a marathon, but it really was characterized by a lot of laughter. I think my abiding memory of the whole thing, whatever was quote unquote hard about it, is that we were just having a ball. Fincher is funny, Brad is funny, Helena is really funny. Andy Walker, who came in and did a lot of great rewrites on it, there was a lot of funny people on that movie, and there was a fun, dark sensibility of sticking a fork in things, and it was fun.
What the hell are you doing?
I don't know that I've ever been involved in a situation where a text was better suited to a director's very unique talents. I mean, what he did on that movie technically was just a jaw dropper to watch on a day in, day out basis. He was doing things that were just so off the wall and impressive and innovative. And the way that Fincher's technical capabilities enhanced the discombobulation of the experience, which is what the film is about, it was all snowballing in a way that was really impressive to watch. And we saw it together finished for the first time, and I think it's one of those things you just go, wow, we'll always have this one. You know what I mean? It was great. You hope you get a couple of those in a whole career, you know what I mean? 25th Hour. Spike Lee was one of the reasons I got serious about making films, because Do the Right Thing was, to me, one of the definitive films of my coming of age. It had an enormous impact on literally what I thought was the reason to make movies. It changed my aspirational target. And I'd literally written Spike fan letters. I mean, I thought He Got Game was an absolute friggin' undeclared masterpiece. I thought it was just great. And I think I wrote him a letter about that. And then when I saw him somewhere, sometime, he came running over and we got into it. And then, you know, we started looking for something to do.
Send those Enron assholes to jail for f***ing life. You think Bush and Cheney didn't know about that? Give me a f***ing break.
I think Spike was not going to make that movie in the aftermath of 9/11 and not deal with the melancholy that was sitting on his town. Spike makes films about the moments he's living in. He makes films about the tensions in his neighborhood. He makes films about what's the moral challenge of the moment that we're living in. And I think Spike just was drawn to the 25th Hour, as we all were, just because it's a great morality tale. It's like, does responsibility for someone's decisions ripple out? Are others responsible for someone falling, you know? I think we shot the 25th Hour in 26 days. I think it was the shortest schedule I've ever shot a film on. It was the shortest schedule I've ever shot a film on. And it's a function of Spike's preparation. He's one of the most prepared directors, and part of that is rehearsal. He rehearsed it like a play. 5 or 6 weeks, 9 to 5 every day, like a play. And Phil and I were in heaven. We were like, this is everything we love, Motherless Brooklyn. It's based on a novel called Motherless Brooklyn by a great Brooklyn writer named Jonathan Lethem. It's a story about a very unusual underdog. He's a guy who is afflicted with Tourette's syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder, and he has a place in the world within a detective agency in Brooklyn, and a mentor, Bruce Willis, who sort of understands him and understands that he has many strange gifts within this condition of his affliction. And when something bad happens to that one friend and mentor who gives him his place in the world, it sets him off on this journey of revenge and also puzzle solving to figure out what happened. And it sort of leads him into this vast world of power brokers and the social history of what was happening to New York in the 50s. It's in the traditions of noir, I hope, like Chinatown or Big Sleep or many of the things that look at the underbelly of how things really happened in American life. But at the same time, it really is a character portrait. It's a character study about an underdog finding his way into his own kind of empowerment, I think.
I got something wrong with me. That's the first thing to know.
I got threads in my head. I got threads in my head, man.
I twitch and shout a lot.
The thing about directing and acting is that you get to be the sculptor of your own performance, which is great. With something as tricky as a character with Tourette syndrome, where you're going to want, as an actor, to feel liberated to try a lot, you're the ultimate arbiter of the calibration of your performance. That's very nice. There's a certain bubble of illusion that actors like to maintain together, even though there's all this technical distraction going on around them. And when you're a director, you're part of that technical distraction. So you're bursting the bubble that as actors you like to create together. And probably my biggest anxiety about directing and acting was the way I would compromise the experience for the other actors of acting with me. But the answer to that is to get like stone cold pros. People who are like tradecraft professionals and really bring intrinsically to it more than you could ever hope for, more than you even imagined. Bruce Willis, Alec Baldwin, Willem Dafoe, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Bobby Cannavale, Cherry Jones, Michael K. Williams. I mean, and it keeps going. Like there's a lot of. I went to, with the exception of Gugu, who's my British import, because she's such a liminal new talent. She's just, I think, emergent into like people's consciousness, which is what I wanted in my lady of mystery, my figure of mystery. But the large bulk of everyone I went to on this was kind of my cadre of New York theater actors that I know, have worked with, have relationships with. It's and who I think have a certain kind of a New York shorthand, if you will.
You remember what I said?
She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
What don't I know?
It's a total consumption. It's a total creative engagement. It's very, very challenging, and I love so many of the dimensions of storytelling from photography to music to sound. It's such a rich opportunity to play with all these little creative compartments of your brain.